Reminding myself of my experience of the first time riding the Sport Glide. So I'll just get to this bit where I'm first starting her up, and then I'll give you some chat about my opinions of her.
Okay, camera's rolling.
So the first thing I'll say is when getting on her, I'd just ridden a Fat Boy motorcycle beforehand, and the tank, the dials, the handlebars all seem to be almost exactly the same. The Fat Boy is a little bit bigger wheels, certainly, bigger engine, no front fairing, footboard, so there are some differences here. But in terms of, from my point of view of sitting on the bike, it seemed very, very similar. Foot position, as soon as I got on this bike, I felt comfortable and in control. It felt very stable, felt very smooth. There was no jiggling around from the engine. And I forgot to put my gloves on for this. I thought, oh no, this is going to be a nightmare. Maybe I should stop and pull over. But I was actually enjoying just riding. It was a very hot day. Just riding with gloves off. And felt good. The position of the mirrors were fine. My arms were not in the way. I recently tried another bike, the Fat Bob, and the mirrors I could barely see past my elbows or my shoulders. But on this bike, the position of the mirrors were absolutely fine. Really good with that. Indicators. There's an indicator on left and one on right, and they're auto cancelling as well. If they don't cancel, then you just press the button again, and that will turn them off here. This bike also comes with cruise control as well. Didn't get the chance to use that. I'll leave that for a day when I'm doing an actual motorway journey. But this was literally from here, some slow stuff, dodging some speed bumps, and then a little bit more stuff out of town. Certainly volume-wise, so the exhausts on all the new bikes are massively muted. And I'm starting to like the whir sound. If you can hear that in the background, when I come off the power, there's a mee sound. Which, when I initially heard it, I thought, what is that? So there's obviously some cogs spinning around at high speed within the bike, which makes a serious cool whirring sound, which I like now. So this bike doesn't have foot peg. It doesn't have foot boards, just foot pegs. The sound of the engine when you turn it on, so it is a 1.7 litre engine, and when you rev it, it's a slow as in it doesn't rev very high. I think it only goes up to about 5,000 revs at its max, but the torque, I get the impression this is a bike that you could never stall unless you're fully holding the brakes and trying to just quickly come off the clutch. But in terms of nipping around neighbourhood streets like this bike didn't feel too big in any sort of way. The narrowness of the front wheel also gives it a much more flickable feeling, it certainly felt like it was easier to get it in the position and the angle that I wanted it to be, in comparison to the Fat Boy, and the Fat Bob actually. They both have much thicker front wheels. So this one with its narrower front wheel, I've been told the tyres could also be upgraded in the future. It just felt like it was much more manoeuvrable, certainly around here. Again, listening to the engine here, every so often it sounds like it's dipping. What I've been told is that it sometimes does it drops a fire to keep the engine cool. And then I thought I'd give it the full beans here. Get past the speed limit. So they're accelerating hard. There is not a roar from the engine or from the exhaust. Even when you go through the tunnel there's not that ear-shattering sound, which I suppose for some people that's what they like, a quieter bike. For me, I definitely want to be heard a bit more on the bike. So the first thing to do in my situation is definitely get some different exhaust on the bike, just because, as I say, loud pipes save lives, and it just means you kind of get more of that impression of speed when you hear the exhaust really throwing out the bangs out the back. But certainly one thing that I've heard from other people talk about is just how smooth this bike is, and in terms of like going along nice smooth roads like this, a lot of the roads I'm going on are really crap roads as well. Lots of bumps, lots of potholes, lots of divots, and this bike absolutely soaked it up. There is an adjustable rear suspension thing, so you can adjust that. Didn't bother playing with that, but that is something which, if you get a person on, is very easy to adjust the rear suspension on the bike. But yeah, the main thing about it is that as soon as you get on it, I had confidence with it. I felt I could go faster, I could go around corners a little bit more. I didn't feel like it was alien in any sort of way. Its foot position, its hand position, its power, nothing strangely nothing felt intimidating about it at all. This bike also comes with the panniers on the side, which I've looked online. They are about £1,700 if you wanted to buy them separately. So buying this bike, I think this bike is around about £18,000. And if you wanted the panniers, well, you could take them off and sell them for £1,500, I guess. So you can save some money going on there. The front fairing, which was kind of what we're looking at just now, is it has two benefits. One, it gives the bike a different look. So you can take that off very easily. The guys in the shop showed me how easy it can come off, which means that the bike ends up looking like a fat boy in the end. So that's quite cool. It does deflect wind off your body and chest, but what it doesn't do is deflect wind off your head. Oh, that was good. And the reason why I think that is quite good is it keeps your helmet cool. So on a sunny day like this, I want a breeze hitting my helmet to help cool me down, especially if you're going through town or city or something like that. But taking some of that wind off your chest, I definitely noticed this being different compared to the Fat Boy. The guy at the shops did take the front fairing off for me a couple of times, and they showed me how it could be almost with kind of a bit of a naked bike. They also showed me how easy it is to hit the panniers off the back as well. So that is like a 5-second job, just lifting a couple of levers as well. So that's they're solid, and I think they carry up to like 50 litres. No, that's not right. Quite a lot of space for sticking all your clothes, sandwiches, laptops, drones, camera stuff. Definitely seems pretty good, and fully like waterproof and water resistant. Actually, which would have been brilliant for one of my recent rides where it was in the absolute pouring rain. Having stuff in them being nice and water tight would have been good. Yeah, so there was a little rev there. You can barely, the engine does. Okay, listen to the engine now that we're going slow. Hear that at full exhaust volume, so properly hearing that with a proper exhaust, because you're not hearing the potato sound. I hear us passing. It looks like there's been a bit of a car crash here. I did. The other thing I did like with this was the clunking of the gears. I think Harley Davidson are considered to be that's one of their good things, their famous things, is the clunk you get from changing gears feels very nice. With this bike, unlike other bikes I've tried, I don't know if I had any trouble getting neutral on this. I recently tried the Fat Bob and tried to find neutral as near on impossible. when I rode this, I can't remember if I had any problem trying to find neutral. Maybe I did at the end. I'll double check that. But here we get a little bit further out of town, and then I go off-road, not off-road, but off this A road and a bit more down a back road, and I'll show you that now. So here I'm coming off the main road. Again, the ability to place this bike with this narrow front wheel felt very easy, very good. Doing a slow maneuver around that corner, no problem whatsoever. As you can see, some pretty rough road, but just getting up to the national speed limit, it felt confidence inspiring. You just definitely want to know what's on the other side of each of these bumps here. And then here's a bit of a chicane that I have to do, and then I have to do a stop because there's some horses passing in front of us here. So again, want to be very slow around here in case there's a car coming around the corner. And there you could hear the whir coming down, the whir of the engine or the gears or something. In fact, there's a car. So yeah, I'm interested to find out what that whirring sound is, because I'm not too sure what that actually is. But certainly going slow, the position to feet out. There's the horses going past. It's a very easy bike to go slow in as well, which is quite good. So here I'm then just following this car slowly down this this little road. Oh, and just with a proper exhaust and having it echoing off these two stone walls would be magical. But certainly with this exhaust, it doesn't encourage you to rev the engine. You know, if you have a loud exhaust, you want to give it a good old flick of the wrist. But when it's this quiet exhaust, it's a little bit emasculating. So yeah, 100%, first thing, new exhaust. And again, this becomes a bit of a narrow road, so if any car's coming up, you're like, oh dear, what's going on? So this car in front pulls into the right, and then I've got a little bit of a run at it. He goes in, and then let's go. That looks awesome. The speed of the side going past. But then you've got to be slow around the corners. But yeah, certainly the smoothness of the engine, especially even when pulling on full power, there's no jerkiness, there's no sudden increase of power. Well, there is increase of speed and all that kind of stuff, but because the torque starts from pretty much idle, you're not suddenly thrown into it. Certainly I'm pushed back in the seat, possibly an additional a different seat might be beneficial if you're constantly pulling high G's on this. And my tailbone was a little bit sore after my ride on my other bike in the Fat Bob, or the Fat Boy, that morning. But this one had the more comfortable seat, actually. Their stock seat seemed to be a little bit more comfortable. Yeah, then I get stuck behind this car for a good while. So moving on to the next bit, this is where I'm on a proper A road here, and I'm trying to accelerate and overtake this car in front of me. So I'm waiting for there to be a clear bit of road, and this is a real test of like motorway acceleration. I think I'm doing 40, maybe 50 miles an hour, trying to see my space, and this is what impressed me the most. It's literally a lean to the right and a lean to the left, and that actually fully overtaken a car already doing 40 or 50 miles an hour. That felt particularly special. Granted, I've got like another bike, but what also was quite good is once when hitting that speed, you're not also being hit by a 70 mile an hour wind right in your chest. So that's where that fairing, I definitely noticed it and appreciated it more. And after that overtaking, the car then passes me on the left here. Or does it? No, maybe it doesn't. The next bit after this is I'm heading to hit the motorway. I want to see, because of this front fairing or front wind deflector, how much benefit does that have when doing motorway speeds or accelerating up onto the motorway. So far at these speeds you probably don't notice it that much, apart from maybe it helps keep the odd fly off your chest. But on the motorway, my head still had the wind noise, but I wasn't holding on to the handlebars to kind of like not get blown off at 70 mile an hour winds. So we'll just get along to that bit now. Having a rev speedometer, was it tachometer? I think you can get it on the digital dial, so it can tell you what revs you're doing on the digital. But I think having a dial of that would be quite nice as well. And then this last bit is me coming back into the Harley Davidson dealership. And again, what I'm just loving here is the joining traffic, the power that I've got to nip in front of a car or behind a car, or again the brakes. It's a single brake on this one, but it felt more than adequate. It didn't have any points where it was going, oh, I wish I had more brakes. Certainly both front and rear brake. The placement of the pedal for the rear brake as well, absolutely no problems with that. And coming up to junction, whenever coming up to traffic lights, right, there was no kind of like intimidation of thinking, oh no, how am I going to get through this, or will I be able to get first gear, or will I have enough accelerator or clutch or anything like that. Just all felt absolutely fine. But yeah, I think at the end here you do see me when I try and park it back at the Harley Davidson shop, finding neutral possibly just didn't actually happen. But yeah, definitely this last ride down, just didn't get the volume of the bike. A lot of people were here with their motorbikes and they all sounded amazing. Me revving there does nothing. Trying to figure out where to park and how to reverse and all that kind of stuff was a little bit sketchy, just because it was so busy. I don't know if it was going to be running over a cone or bumping into somebody else's bike. But yeah, there you go. That was my first impression of the Harley Davidson sport bike. Only thing I can say, needs a better exhaust. And I can't find neutral.